Today's going to be a little bit of a treat. I'm going to let you listen in to a clearing that I did for a client. This is a spiritual clearing, and I hope by listening to it, you'll get a little bit of insights on what happens during a spiritual clearing and maybe what you can expect for yourself if you ever get one. I'm excited to show this one to you. I think it's great to get a behind the scenes look, an inside look on what happens for mediums in different types of settings. For me, this was a spiritual clearing. It was done remotely with a client of mine. There was a home that needed to be sold, and a pretty dark history to that house that needed to be processed through. Now, couple things to note. This was done remotely. So if you're watching this in a video format, you'll be able to see me and the client. If you're listening to it, you're going to hear me and the client talking back and forth. When it comes to spiritual clearings, they don't necessarily have to be done in person. Most of them that I do remotely. However, I do still go to in-person clearings from time to time, especially when it's a pretty intense situation or there's a really good reason to show up in person. Now, this one particularly, I will let you know how I work, you could say. When I first get a reading, the appointment will come in. So someone will book the appointment for, let's say, next week. When I receive notification that the appointment was made, I start the clearing immediately because there's no point in waiting. If somebody needs a spiritual clearing, they need a clearing. Now, I can't complete the entire clearing until the actual date of the appointment. So much of what I do right when I get the notification that I've gotten the appointment is that I'll send out GCP, send out some good energy, kind of bubble up the person or the property or the place or the business even until such time as we can meet. And then when we meet, then that's where I share with the client the details that I have, what's coming through, perhaps why it's happening, and go through the process of clearing over anyone that needs to be crossed over to the other side, and also rebalancing the energy of the individual or the home or the business. And that's what you're going to see. So while she booked the appointment about a week before this was the actual appointment. Another quick note, I never post anything without the client's complete permission and let them review it first and say, yep, this can go out. Make sure you put this out, and don't put this out. We always ethically honor exactly what the client is comfortable with doing. But she did volunteer to let this one go out into the public as a teaching method, which is great because sometimes people learn best from witnessing somebody else do it. And you might step away if you're doing mediumship or crossing over work yourself. You might step away from this with, hey, I'm going to try that. Or, hey, I like how she did that. Or, I haven't tried that before. I'm going to try that as well. Because that's how we continue to expand our intuition, keep trying different things. And for those of you that aren't necessarily stepping into mediumship or crossing over work, but you think you might need a clearing, you're not quite sure, you've got a property that won't sell, or you're looking for a home, or even your existing home itself is really heavy, this is going to give you a really good feeling for what you can expect. Not as scary as it might seem, but also really kind of insightful. Let's jump on in.
All right, so there we go. When you book the appointment for clearings, I always do a pre-clearing. You get everything set up and working again. With that said, I'm going to tell you what I picked up right away, and then we'll just open up a conversation, and then we'll, most of the time finish the clearing. Sometimes, if not, I will finish it tonight because I'm sitting here working on that specifically. The first thing that I picked up was actually 2 houses. I'm not picking up one. I'm picking up. Okay.
He had a house. Yeah, go ahead. I won't interrupt. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. It's just, it really, at this point, it's a conversation. So if something comes, go ahead and let it happen. So yeah, the first thing I picked up was on 2 houses, and I picked up on one spirit that was going back and forth between the 2 houses. And one house they belong in, the other one they do not. So the spirit that keeps going back and forth, that's the case. I also picked up on when somebody was living, let me see which house it was in. I don't know yet. So we're just going to go with that. But what I also picked up on was when there was a particular person that when they were living, they really wrestled with heaviness, darkness, kind of bouncing back and forth, depression, off and on, these types of things. They feel very guarded, very shielded. So if no one knew that, that would not surprise me the way that they're coming through. This is a person that you would have had to have really gotten to know to really understand that was going on under the surface. And I feel like that they haven't transitioned. So with that said, there's a couple other little lingering things, but that was kind of the main source. Is there also a living person? Oh, that was a silly question. I was going to say, is there a living person that's suffering from this that's not you? Is there a living male person that is suffering from this clearing situation?
Well, just to back up a second, going between the two houses, my mom and stepfather were married for a very long time and lived in two separate houses before they moved in together. And it was kind of an ultimatum on my mom's part. So he did eventually sell the house he had had with his late wife. So that was one
Okay.
connection I think about. So he didn't own his other house anymore. Um, a current male being affected by depressive energy.
Now
It
your
could be my eldest brother. He's
okay.
different. He's been different.
Okay. And so now, okay, my brain just put together the information we talked about in the emails too. Okay. I'm
Yeah,
catching up.
this being
Yeah,
this spirit
I go
being my stepdad. Yeah.
stepdad. Okay. Yeah, I go straight into energetics and then kind of forget what I read. But this was your stepdad who committed suicide, correct? In the home.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
So this would have been the male then that you wouldn't have known it or he hid it well or whatnot, but it was there. Okay. This
Mhm.
is
Mhm.
all. So now I'm linking together these two things make sense, but there still is a living male that is affected by this on a negative sense. This would mean that your stepfather also probably takes a little bit of issue with this male. So when it comes to the male that might be affected, that would be a part of it is that your stepfather would have not bonded with this male. It would have
That's
been
my eldest brother.
okay, it
Yeah.
would have been more like this. Like I'm
Oh,
keeping
it's totally my
arms length.
eldest brother.
Okay. All
Mhm.
right. So your eldest brother is being affected by this. That will change. That'll shift when it goes. It's not going to change his entire life or path, but it will shift and change. But yeah, he's definitely still lingering. Definitely still
He
lingering.
came through to me the other day. It was
Okay.
very like I wrote an article. Part of the reason this is coming up is not just about my mom trying to sell her house, but this is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, and I
Yes.
ended up writing an essay about this experience. Never wrote about it before, and it's being published tomorrow. And he came through to me on a text message where a friend of mine and I were talking about it. Like she used a phrase and typed it the way he used to say this word. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is how he used to say it. It was like a thing. And then I went to write holy and it changed it to Bill. And those letters, that's his name. And those letters are nowhere near each other. And I
That's
hadn't
not
been
an
typing it.
autocorrect.
And I was just like, okay, hi, I see you. So I told my friend, I was like, we're having a mediumship moment because he just spoke through you and he just typed his name in my text. So yeah, but she was reading this essay I had written about him when that
Okay.
happened.
Okay. That all makes sense.
He also, by the way, the very first time I ever had a one-on-one medium session, maybe actually my first ever medium session, he was the first to come through and I was not expecting it. Was not expecting it. He was the
Yeah.
first to come through.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that all makes sense then. Has your older brother then been avoiding the home?
Well, I don't know how he felt about being in that room. He and my other brother started the cleanup process before the professionals got there. I don't like being in that room, but so I would say, yeah, like I would not have put that together. But if there's anyone that fits that
Affected.
description, it would be
It
him.
would be him. So as you're talking, what I'm getting from stepfather, who you said his name was Bill. So it's also very interesting because he kind of comes in. It's like he has to come in and then he gets pulled back, and then he comes in and then he gets pulled back. So it's not a very clear communication. But when you were talking about your brother having an opinion on him and your mom being married, him and your mom had a way of communicating and a way of clicking that other people didn't. Other couples
Mm-hmm.
didn't. They like got each other on an unusual level. So if you looked from the outside in, you could have an opinion. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's just not gonna work. Now, with that said, when I tap into the house itself, it toggles between very heavy, which I think I'm viewing it through Bill's eyes, very heavy and sad. He can't fix it, and that's upsetting. So it's very much a feeling of I can't fix this. I can't make this right. But then it
Fix
also
what he did, you mean?
that he can't fix it. And I feel like he had a pattern of that in his life. No, we're not coming down on Bill at all in any way, shape, or form, but I feel like there were big things in his life that happened that he couldn't turn back around and fix them, even though he was a good man, right? Good at heart, mistake, I can't fix it. Ugh, mistake, I can't fix it. So that's the pattern, and I feel like he's stuck in that pattern loop. But then the house also toggles to very clean, very white, very light colors, very windows, very the countertops are white, the floor is a light color wood. Like it's a very light visual and a very heavy energetic. So what we're going to do is we're going to cross Bill over, and I'm going to pull him out of that secondary house, which feels like, did he have, so his ex-wife, then did he have kids with his ex-wife?
He was a widower. Yes.
Okay.
She died, and he has, how many kids he have? 3 or 4.
3 or 4. Okay. Because I can see the link there, and it almost feels like he's trying to go back. So first I'm going to pull him out of that and invite him into kind of more of a safe feeling, maybe invite in. Your mom has worked hard at the house and presenting it, and even before she was going to sell it, I feel like she was the type of person that worked hard at that, and took pride in it.
And my sister, like I mentioned, my sister and her family have been living there too. So they've been partnering a lot on all of that as well. And yeah, there is definitely a lot of light, both visually and also because of my sister and her family.
Okay. Yeah. And it's, the person that when you walk in their house, you're like, this house matters to them and they care for it.
Yeah.
That's kind of that feeling. And it's the energetic thing. So I'm going to bring him into that space. Is your sister really good at accepting people for who they are?
She's amazing, and she has a huge community of people who adore her. So yes, I would 100% agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
I asked this because as I'm pulling him out of the old house and into this house and saying, okay, we're here, we're okay, I could hear him say, she's here, and it feels nice. Because you were talking about your sister being there and it felt nice. I feel like
he loved her.
She accepted him. He cared. Yeah. So it was almost like when I pulled him out of the old house, he had a moment of like, what? And then he went back into so we're now in one house, and he's like, okay. And I feel like him anchoring into knowing her energy is near him calms him. That's the feeling. Like, I'm okay. She's here.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just asking, is she affected by this? He says no. But he feels better being around her.
Yeah.
He also he's not a fan of burdening your mom. Because it's like, I'm not going to lean on her. I'm going to energetically, he's going to right now lean on sister. Okay. Yeah. He's really stuck in the loop of it's not okay to go. So what we're going to do, and I'm going to talk through this, what we're going to do is I've got him energetically right here. I'm like, there's like a dining room that's like half open, half not, room. And I can see like a kitchen right off there. I've got him in there, and he's like standing in the back corner of it. I can see a table, and we're across the table. That's his comfort level. He's like, this is where I'm standing. And I'm like, I got it. And I said, okay. So what I'm saying to him right now is simply, all we're going to do is take the next few moments, and in these moments decide that it is okay to go, and decide that it is all right to go. There's nothing to fix, nothing to heal, nothing to work on, just big deep breath. Okay. And it's okay to go. So his personality is coming back a little bit, and I'm chuckling because I just heard him go, well, do I have to choose my shoes for this? Is there certain? And I'm like, okay, that came out of left field. We're doing all right. We're doing okay. You don't have to choose your shoes. There's no shoe choice. And he just smiled a little bit. So I'm going to sit quiet and just hold safe space for him. Non-invasively, allowing him to feel safe around your sister. And I'm just going to do safe space for him, and see if he can just take a deep breath. And he says, I'm not stopping the house from, it's not me. It's not me
Yeah.
from, like, okay, I understand.
Okay.
I get it. We hear you and we understand that it's not you. And he wanted to talk about it a little bit more. And I'm like, nope, we're just going to go. We're focused on you right now. So he did worry about your mom a lot. Still does. But he can't tell her anything. But I mean,
That is true. Well, he
can't
couldn't
tell her
tell her
what to
anything in
do.
real life.
He couldn't tell her anything. Yeah, he couldn't tell her what to do or tell her. Yeah, he's like,
Yeah.
but I still worried about her all the time. Okay.
Yeah.
Here we go, Bill. Okay. Okay. I think you just had to get a couple of those little things out. Yes, it wasn't, he's not in front of me and I'm checking it with my guides. Cause unfortunately I don't get like a sign that goes, hey, done. They just go. So I'm just checking with Peter real quick. He's good. He's moving. He's good. He's moving. In 2 to 3 days, there's going to be 2 different signs to two different people. Would not surprise me if one was to you, one was to your sister, but they're going to be significant. One right after the other, because I do see you guys sharing. Those signs are going to be signs to say, yeah, I really am okay. I've taken it, and so they'll happen within 72 hours. He really wanted to say, I think I already said it out loud, that it wasn't him holding the house back. However, the energy's clear and the house is now free to kind of go. People won't feel a heaviness in there. But the sale of the house, the way that it looks now that he's gone, I'm checking in with the guides just real quick. Why not? Right? What's going on with the sale? I've got a guide that's coming through that's very staunch, very organized, and this is your mom's guide, this is me, and this is how your mom is, and it's in a good way, all good, but he's like, she is bouncing back and forth as to whether to sell it or not. So
yes, she is
going to come to terms with, I'm finally ready. When she's ready, it will release the energy and it will move. But that's okay. Today, they're saying it was better that we connected with Bill. I'm so glad you did this. I'm so glad you and I got to connect with this.
I'm having so many different feelings. I feel like I just lost him again in a sense. Like, I'm glad that he's, and I feel like the timing, it's just crazy, the timing of this essay I wrote for him about him, because it was supposed to get, I turned it in, or I sent it to someone. I finished it on my mom's birthday, as it so happened, and then it was supposed to be published at the end of last week or Monday, and it got postponed till tomorrow. And so it's like, we just did this, and then 400 people at my company are going to learn about what he and I experienced. So just the synchronicity of that is moving me. So
yeah. Well, you're going to take care of yourself and, promise me that.
Yes.
So
yes.
I think the really great thing, in addition to him being able to take a breath, that's how he kept saying it. I just need to take a breath. That was the words for him. So in addition to that, you're actually going to be able to connect with him a little bit more.
Better.
Doesn't take away the grief now, does it? But it's going to be coming around the corner. So.
Well, my sister, I told her about the signs that I had received. So when she sees her sign, it will be top of mind, because I have already pointed out the other 2 that I got. So
I love that. Okay. Any last questions?
No, I'm good. Yeah, there's definitely other reasons why the house isn't selling, and I'm glad I did this though, for him and for everyone else involved, including whoever owns that house next.
Well, the cool thing too is that this process also might help mom to finally step into a decision, because part of that, feeling him there, how do you leave, right? If you're like, and it can be subconscious too, So
Yeah.
subconsciously
Yeah.
she's feeling him. So how do you leave? That would be like just leaving him there, you know? So maybe
Yeah.
now she sort of subconsciously feels that he's crossed over heaven, you know, that
Yeah.
connection that's so meaningful to her, then that's going to give her peace,
Yeah.
even if it's subconsciously. So that might help her move it forward.
Yeah. She was feeling wary about, I guess there are laws that have changed about homeowners having to disclose things that have happened in the house, and apparently they don't have to come right out and say it, but it's discoverable, and that was a thing. So I'm sure the energy of all of that is in her mind somewhere, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Thank
right?
you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
And that, my friends, is a spiritual clearing. This one was particularly focused in on a real estate, which is great. Sometimes it's focused on an individual. Sometimes it's focused on an existing property that's not trying to sell or anything. And it's a really powerful and wonderful thing to do. Spiritual clearings, I personally believe that every home that a person moves into, home, apartment, living situation, I think a clearing should be done either by the individual moving in, or if you feel better having somebody else do it, by all means do that. But I don't think, I would love to see this tradition come back, and come back strong, because it's a great way. It's a great way. Your space should be your own. Your energetic body should be your own. And it shouldn't be weighed down by that which shouldn't be weighing it down. So consider a spiritual clearing. Better yet, for those of you out there that are mediums and doing crossing over work, consider doing spiritual clearings. They are very helpful. And a follow-up to if this house sold or not, because I know that's a question that's going to come through. This clearing just happened. So if I do get a follow-up, because we don't always get feedback as mediums, but if I do get a follow-up, I will post it in here and let you know.